tenure with A.J. Brown in Philadelphia is going to come to an end.
He represents, I think, a lot of guys on their team.
AJ was tweeting, AJ was reading books.
I do not trust AJ to be an Eagle.
He's upset. Like, I'm not upset they're winning. He's upset.
Where did it all go wrong? How did one of the best receivers the Eagles have had in decades end up polarizing a fan base and media alike? Let's turn back the clock. When AJ Brown was traded from the Titans in a move that stunned the world, Tennessee opted to part ways with the Ole Miss product, who started his career with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons and followed them up with another 869 in 2021. Why? They didn't want to pay him a mammoth contract. A move that a couple of years later actually turned out to be, genius. During his time with the Titans, Brown showed early signs of struggling with the pressure of being the Bugatti in a beat-up house. The wideout was on an awful team with no identity and was usually the only difference maker on offense, having to shoulder the burden of a rebuild as the lone star. It didn't take long for fans to turn when things went south. The receiver spoke up on an IG Live about his battles with mental health and the dark place he found himself in. A young man thrust into the spotlight with the weight of the world on his shoulders, still finding a way to vent those emotions in a way that raised awareness to many and had a positive impact on teammates, fans, and just about anyone who stumbled over the viral clips because of how soft and humble and personable he was in those moments of vulnerability. But at the end of the coming season, he was not going to let his worth be diminished. The Titans didn't want to spend, and Brown believed he was worth every cent. With a renewed sense of worth and another stellar year behind him, he knew it was time to put himself first and secure his own future.
Hey, let's do it, man. Hey.
Brown joined the Eagles, linking up with old friend Jalen Hurts. Despite playing for two different colleges, it was actually the Eagles QB who tried to recruit AJ to Alabama. What people don't know is that Hurts is also the godfather to AJ's daughter. An ascending QB1 getting a reliable top-tier wideout to partner with one of the most underrated receivers in football, it was a match made in heaven. And for a brief time, heaven it was. Brown's first season in the city of brotherly love ended in a career-high 1,496 yards and 11 touchdowns, a bar he almost reached again just 1 year later. But early concerns about how the Eagles would balance the distribution between two dominant playmakers were valid. However, winning cured all, and Philly was doing plenty of it. A Super Bowl heartbreak showed just how high the ceiling was for this team, this offense, and AJ individually, but the cracks were starting to show. In week 2 of the next season, the first real moment of volatility arose. 4 catches, 28 yards, and a tough day at the office saw frustrations boil over. Brown and Hurts appeared to get into it on the sideline without anyone really knowing what was said or why, although everyone was very quick to make their own opinions. Annoyingly, in what became a pattern, Brown then exploded for a dominant game 1 week later following this outburst, which may have been the start of a very different problem. AJ crashes out, the Eagles spam him the ball, AJ happy. That's not the reality of the situation, but when it's so easy to connect those dots and then they repeat again and again, it's easy to see how tensions arise when the winning does slow down. Brown soon picked up a reputation for cryptic social media posts and strange sideline antics that even helped the book Inner Excellence by Jim Murphy fly up the charts after a random wholesome read on the bench during a game. Most of the time, these acts would either be ridiculously overanalyzed, or misplaced, or both, but all of them often included the word diva. In October 2025, Brown released his Check on Your Teammates collection on World Mental Health Day, as he fought to break the stigma of mental health once more. Again, this is someone that wears his heart on his sleeve, has been vocal about his struggles, and is the first to take accountability during tough moments. Despite that, the media in the city and even nationwide found a way to villainize every quote, every social media decision, and every visible look of frustration. But what doesn't help, I think, this whole story is that the offensive core is built of high character guys from borderline military coaching schools. Smitty and Hurts both obviously blossomed in Alabama, and with Jalen's cold and composed exterior often acting as a total juxtaposition to how we see Brown act, all it does is amplify Brown's frustrations in comparison to those around him. The two couldn't be more opposite, but what they share is a hyper-competitive nature and an obsession for the game and winning. Players express that in different ways, and there is no right or wrong, but the truth is this. AJ is a bona fide WR1, one of the best in football, and splitting targets with another WR1 and one of the best running backs in football and a dynamic quarterback means air traffic can be inconsistent at the best of times, and when the team doesn't win, and if he's not as involved as much as he'd like to be, that stings. Does this justify his actions? Maybe not, but I think he's made it clear that they're never coming from a place of malice, and it's never really like he's open-fired on the team. Hell, look at what Darius Slay was doing on opposing players' podcasts. I mean, that is a whole different conversation. It's just pent-up frustration in an environment where those closest to him don't exhibit emotions in the same way. If Brown struggled with his mental health and has learned to be vocal in those struggles, it's absolutely easy to see where the frustrations would come from if now being vocal to avoid a similar path is also not working and causing even more complications. The future for AJ Brown is uncertain, but before this era comes to what looks to be an unavoidable car crash of an ending, let's just remember, Eagles fans had to deal with Jalen Reagor, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, Nelson Aguilar, although he did have a great hero arc, and a myriad of broken toys following the days of Macklin, Avant, Deshaun Jackson, and even Alshon Jeffrey had his moments of chaos too. AJ became the first Eagles player in history to put up 125 yards plus in 6 straight games. And he also broke the single season franchise receiving record and the most yards recorded in a debut game. Truly, as a Super Bowl winner too, he is one of the best receivers Eagles fans have ever seen. One that they had been crying out for years. Someone that's vocal, like Philly, wears his heart on his sleeve, like Philly, is open and honest. But he still gets demonized. In my opinion, it's one of the saddest arcs in recent memory. My main hope is he finds peace in the noise and a balance between financial security and remaining on a competitive team with no further drama. Fans will remember AJ when all is said and done for being one of the best receivers to ever suit up in midnight green. Because history doesn't remember if someone changed their Instagram bio. It remembers wins, Super Bowls, and community impact. Something very few players have ever come close to Brown in accomplishing, and maybe even fewer ever will.